My fiancée said she was dog-sitting for a neighbor. I walked over with food for her and found her on the couch in lingerie with a guy laughing and filming her. When she heard my keys drop on the floor, I should probably start with the moment that ruined the week, the month, and honestly the whole picture I thought I was living in. It happened on a random Wednesday evening, the sort of night when nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. I got off work a bit early, grabbed some takeout from the Thai place near my building, and figured I would surprise my fiancée, Rena, while she was dog-sitting for a neighbor. A pretty harmless plan. I wasn't trying to catch anyone. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't even in a bad mood. I was just a guy walking through a quiet neighborhood with warm food and the idea that my future wife was probably bored and hungry. She had told me she would be at the neighbor's place overnight, because apparently the man had to fly out for a last-minute family emergency. I didn't question it. The neighbor, an older guy named Mr. Cray, was one of those friendly retirees who always talked to her about gardening, weather, or whatever else she was willing to listen to. I didn't see anything strange about her helping him out. Rena loved dogs, and she loved feeling useful. So I started walking over, balancing the bag of food in my left hand. I knew the house. It was 3 streets down from ours, a little brick thing with a green mailbox. Barely any lights from nearby houses were on because people still hadn't come home yet. It felt peaceful, the kind of calm evening where you don't even bother checking your phone. I got to the house and noticed something off right away. Not huge, just enough to nudge the back of my mind. The front porch light was off. Normally he left it on, even when he wasn't home. And I didn't hear the tiny dog barking its head off. That dog barked when a leaf fell the wrong way. Silence was strange. I still knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder. The food bag crinkled, so I tightened my grip. I tried the handle. The door was unlocked. It should not have been unlocked. Here's where I probably should have just backed up and called her. I know that. But this wasn't a horror movie. It wasn't some big dramatic moment. It was just me standing there thinking maybe she fell asleep on the couch or went to the bathroom and forgot to lock it. So I opened the door. The first thing I noticed wasn't anything visual. It was sound. A faint laugh from somewhere deeper inside the house. A low laugh, definitely masculine. It wasn't loud enough to be a party or even a conversation. More like whatever was happening in a room with the door closed. I took a step in. The air smelled like a mixture of vanilla candles and something expensive I couldn't place. The dog wasn't there. The leash wasn't by the door. The usual throw blanket the neighbor kept on the armchair was folded neatly and untouched. The place looked staged, not lived in. I called out her name. My voice echoed more than I expected in such a small house. No response. Only the faint laugh again, a little clearer this time. I stepped further in, walking past the hallway mirror that showed me holding takeout and looking like an idiot. The laughter grew louder the closer I got to the living room. I wasn't moving quietly or trying to be sneaky, but I guess I stepped on something near the entryway. My keys shifted in my pocket and fell out, hitting the floor with a sharp metallic clatter that felt way too loud. The laughter stopped. I froze. Then I walked forward into the living room, expecting. I don't know what I expected. Literally anything except what I saw. Rena was sitting on the couch wearing lingerie I had never seen before. Her hair was done like she'd prepared for something specific. Her legs were crossed in this careful, practiced way she never used around me at home. And right across from her, holding his phone up, recording the whole thing, was a guy I'd never seen in my life. He wasn't touching her, but he was close enough. His grin faded the second he saw me standing there with takeout food, like some kind of sketch comedy character who walked into the wrong scene. Rena jerked upright as soon as she saw me. Her voice cracked. She tried to scramble for something to cover herself with, but there was nothing nearby except decorative pillows that wouldn't hide anything. The guy lowered his phone, scooting back like I might explode on him, but he didn't say a word. My brain didn't even know what emotion to choose. Shock beat everything else to the finish line. My mouth opened, but nothing useful came out. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the food. I didn't charge at anyone. I just tried to understand what I was looking at. She stood up like the couch suddenly burned. She tried to speak, but her words tripped over each other. She reached for me like she wanted me to step away from the door, to leave the house, so they could explain whatever this was supposed to be. The guy finally found his voice. He said something defensive, something about this not being what it looked like. Which was funny, because it looked like exactly what it looked like. I stepped back because suddenly the room felt too small, too hot, too unreal. I dropped the food onto a side table without even thinking. I walked backward toward the front door. Rena followed me, still trying to come up with explanations that were about as useful as screen doors on a submarine. She tried to say it was for a joke, which was the last explanation I expected to hear. A joke that involved lingerie, filming, and a stranger's living room was not a joke. It was something else entirely. I didn't trust my voice yet, so I didn't use it. I stepped outside. The air was cold and hit me like a bucket of water. I stood in the driveway staring at the quiet street, trying to figure out what direction the rest of my life just took. Inside the house, I could hear the guy muttering nervously and Rena pacing. Their silhouettes moved against the curtain. I didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to see them, or hear them, or smell whatever cheap candle they'd lit. I walked toward the sidewalk, but before I could leave entirely, I heard a car pull up behind me. Headlights washed over the driveway. The engine cut. A car door opened. That was the moment when the situation twisted into something even worse, because the person stepping out of that car was not the man who owned the house. It was a woman in business clothes, a woman holding a work bag, a woman whose facial expression changed instantly when she saw me stepping out of her front door. I didn't know her name yet, but I would, and she would blow the entire situation open. The woman who stepped out of the car froze like she had walked straight into a crime scene. And to be fair, from her angle, it looked exactly like that. I was standing halfway out of her front door. The lights inside were on. Her curtains were slightly open. And behind me, the faint shape of someone in lingerie moved across her living room. She set her bag down on the hood of her car and squared her shoulders like she was ready to swing. I lifted my hands in the most awkward half-surrender a human being has ever done. "I don't live here," I said. It came out too fast and too breathless. Her eyes narrowed. Her name, I'd learn later, was Monica. Right now she looked like she was deciding whether to scream, call 911, or hit me with her purse. Before she could choose, Rena ran out of the front door in a rush, still half-dressed and trying to hold together the thin fabric she was wearing. She nearly slipped on the porch, grabbed the doorframe, and then tried to step between me and the woman with this frantic hand wave. "This isn't what you think," she said, which was rapidly becoming her favorite sentence tonight. Monica's expression didn't soften. It sharpened. Her voice was steady and flat. "Who are you? And why are you in my house?" I wanted to say something smart, but nothing in my brain was functioning at normal capacity. So I told the truth. I thought my fiancé was dog-sitting. I walked in because the door was unlocked. And I found this. That one simple sentence rewired the whole atmosphere. Monica's head turned slowly toward Rena, almost like she was trying to give her the courtesy of being honest. Rena did not take the opportunity. "It was a misunderstanding," she said. "He's making it sound worse than it is." The guy inside the house, Kellen, as I would eventually learn, peeked his head out from the living room doorway. His face was pale. He looked like he desperately wanted to evaporate. Monica stared at him, then at the lingerie, then at the takeout box still sitting open on her hallway table, then at me, and something clicked behind her eyes. She didn't scream. She didn't freak out. She pulled her phone from her purse and pressed a button. The living room TV turned on by itself. Rena flinched. Kellen flinched harder. A playback window appeared on the screen. Security footage. Different angle. Different day. The footage showed the same living room. Only this time Kellen was unlocking the door like it belonged to him, and Rena was behind him carrying a bag. The date stamp was from 2 months ago. I felt the kind of cold that doesn't come from weather. It comes from the realization that you haven't just been lied to. You've been living inside a lie. Monica didn't look at me. Her eyes were locked on Rena. "You copied my key," she said quietly. Rena protested immediately, too fast. "No, he did. It wasn't like, we weren't using it like that." Kellen stammered something about a misunderstanding, but the words came out like he had sand in his mouth. Monica walked past all of us into her house. She picked up her laptop from the counter and opened it, logging into the camera system. More footage appeared. Different days. Different angles. Some showed Kellen alone. Some showed both of them together. Sometimes they entered during the day. Sometimes at night. None of the timestamps lined up with Rena's explanations to me over the last year. She had said she was with friends, with coworkers, running errands, volunteering. But she had been here, in this house, with him. "Get out," Monica said finally. Her voice was even. Her body was still. Her anger wasn't theatrical. It was sharp and controlled. "All of you. Now, before I decide that calling the police is the polite option." Rena turned to me with wide, pleading eyes, the kind she usually used when she lost her wallet or forgot to pay a bill. It wasn't working anymore. Not tonight. I stepped out of the doorway and walked toward the sidewalk. My legs didn't feel connected to the rest of me. My pulse didn't match my breathing. Everything was slightly out of sync. Behind me, I heard Monica telling Rena and Kellen to collect whatever they brought in. She reminded them calmly that the house had cameras in every room except the bathroom. Every room. Her tone was cold enough to make even the streetlights seem dimmer. Rena tried to follow me down the walkway. I didn't look back. She kept talking in this frantic whisper, saying we could sort this out, and that this wasn't what it looked like. She kept insisting it was stupid, but not serious. Meanwhile, I was replaying every late-night call, every "I'm busy," every weekend excuse she had used. All the pieces started fitting together like a puzzle I didn't ask to solve. And then another wave of chaos arrived. A car pulled up fast. Brakes screeched. The passenger door opened before the car fully stopped. Kellen jumped inside like he was diving into shelter during a storm. The driver yelled through the window. "What did you get us into?" The car sped off, fishtailing slightly before straightening. Rena watched it leave like her safety net had just vanished into the night. She grabbed my arm, but I pulled it away. That was the moment Monica stepped back outside. She had changed from quiet anger into focused intention. "I've already submitted the footage," she said. "The system auto-uploads to my cloud every hour. Nothing can be deleted." Rena froze. "What footage?" I asked. "All of it," Monica replied. "Every time they entered. Every time he used the key he copied. Every night they treated my house like it was a hotel room." Rena whispered something soft and broken. Monica ignored her completely and spoke only to me. "I will need your statement," she said. "It looks clear you weren't involved. But I want your name and number so the officers can contact you as a witness." That word, witness, was heavier than everything else that had happened. Rena tried one last time to salvage the moment. "Please, Eli, don't agree to anything yet. We can talk away from this. She won't press charges if we just explain." Monica cut her off with a small, dry laugh. "Oh, I am pressing charges." She wasn't bluffing. Her voice made that obvious. I gave Monica my number. She typed it into her phone, thanked me politely, and went back into her house. The porch light flicked back on when she closed the door, almost like it was reclaiming the space. I stood there on the sidewalk while Rena kept talking. She shifted between anger, panic, and bargaining so fast it made my head hurt. She blamed stress. She blamed boredom. She blamed feeling ignored. She blamed me for walking in instead of calling first. She even blamed Monica for leaving town so often, which was a wild thing to hear out loud. I couldn't listen anymore. I finally turned to her and said the only thing I had managed to form in my mind since everything fell apart. "I'm going home." I walked away. She followed me for half a block, begging me to stop. Eventually, she gave up and stayed behind, standing under the streetlight in the same outfit she had worn on someone else's couch. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but I had a pretty good guess that the situation wasn't anywhere near finished. Not with the footage. Not with Monica. And definitely not with whatever history existed between Rena and Kellen. I barely slept that night. My apartment felt like it had shrunk around me, even though it was the same square footage it always had. I wasn't crying. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't doing anything dramatic. I was just lying there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of my refrigerator like it was the only stable thing left in the world. Around 8 in the morning, I got a text. Not from Rena. She had spammed me already. Missed calls. Long messages. Half apologies mixed with excuses. I didn't open any of them. The text that actually mattered came from my friend Tyrese. "I heard something happened. I'm coming over." I didn't answer. But 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and Tyrese stepped in without waiting for my invitation. He was the kind of friend who didn't need permission. He took one look at me and sighed like he had been bracing for this. "Man," he said, setting a bag of breakfast sandwiches on my table. "Tell me everything." I did. Slowly. Carefully. I told him about the unlocked door, the recording, the lingerie. I told him about Monica, the security footage, the key duplication. I told him about the guy named Kellen. I told him how long it might have been going on. He listened in silence, nodding and frowning in the right places. But when I finished, he leaned back in his chair and rubbed his forehead. "Okay," he said. "Before we unpack all that, you need to hear something." I had a bad feeling in my stomach. He looked too serious. He looked like he had been keeping something. "What is it?" I asked. He hesitated, which he never did. Tyrese was the type to say things straight. But right now, he looked like he was choosing every word intentionally. "You remember a few months ago," he said, "when Rena left her phone at my place after she came over with our group?" I nodded. Rena had left it by mistake. She claimed she was checking something on our friend May's phone and just got distracted. Tyrese continued. "She got a text while we were all still in the kitchen. I saw the preview pop up on her lock screen before it disappeared. It said, 'Last night was amazing. Same time next week.' And the name wasn't anyone I recognized. I just sat there, breathing, not moving." He kept going. "I didn't want to read into it, because I respect people's privacy. I didn't want to start drama if it was something innocent, and I didn't think she was the type to cheat. I appreciated the honesty, but it still hit like a punch. Why didn't you tell me then?" I asked. "Because," he said, "I've seen guys get suspicious over nothing. I didn't want to be the reason you two fought if it turned out to be a misunderstanding." He wasn't wrong, but it hurt anyway. Before the silence got too heavy, the door opened again, this time without knocking. Only one person barged in like that. May, Tyrese's girlfriend. She had the energy of a storm that had learned to walk on two legs. She looked me up and down and immediately shook her head. I knew something was wrong, she said, dropping a plastic bag of groceries on my counter. I woke up and told Tyrese that if he didn't come over here with me, I'd change our Wi-Fi password without telling him. Tyrese rolled his eyes. That was their normal dynamic. May turned back to me. Tell me everything. Tyrese cut in gently. He already told me. Then tell me what you told him, she said, crossing her arms. I repeated it. The entire story. Shorter this time, because saying it out loud felt like pulling out a loose tooth repeatedly. When I was done, May didn't react the way I expected. No pity. No outrage. She just exhaled slowly and sat down on my couch. And then she said something that pushed the day from painful into a whole new level of chaos. You need to know something else, she said. This wasn't just some one-time thing with that guy. I heard her talking to another man at a bar a couple months ago. I looked at her. My heartbeat crawled up into my throat. May explained. She had gone out with coworkers to a place downtown. She ran into Rena by coincidence. Rena was at the bar with a man May didn't recognize, dressed way more provocatively than she ever dressed when we went out together. They were sitting close. Too close. May approached them. Rena acted nervous, then said she was out with a friend. But the man excused himself almost immediately, disappearing into the crowd. May didn't think deeply about it at the time, but she noticed the tension between them, something that wasn't just friendly. And now, in hindsight, all the little puzzle pieces clicked. Tyrese looked at me carefully. I know this is a lot to take in. I nodded. It was more than a lot. It was like someone had kicked out the foundation of the life I thought I had. But the weirdest part? I wasn't breaking down. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't doing anything dramatic. I was thinking, clearer than I expected, because part of me already knew something deeper was waiting under all this. Monica's footage showed a pattern. May's memory added another piece. Tyrese's confession added another. And the more I looked at the puzzle, the clearer the picture grew. This wasn't some weeks-long emotional drift. This wasn't some reckless one-night mistake. This was a long-term double life. Before any of us could keep unpacking the disaster, my phone buzzed again. The caller ID said unknown. I answered. It was a police officer. He asked if I could come down to the station to give my statement. Monica had already filed her report, and the footage was being reviewed. He said I wasn't in trouble. They just needed a timeline from me. I agreed to come in that afternoon. After he hung up, Tyrese and May exchanged a look. You want us to come? May asked. I shook my head. I'll handle it. And I meant it. A couple hours later, after they both left, I drove to the station. I gave a calm, detailed statement. The officer asked basic questions. He took notes. He showed me freeze frames of the footage. It was surreal seeing Rena in different outfits, different dates, walking into someone else's house like it belonged to her. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I told him I wasn't part of the break-ins. I didn't own the house. I didn't have the right to press anything. All I could do was confirm what I saw. When I left the station, I felt strangely grounded. Not healed. Not okay. Just aware. The next blow came that evening. I got home and found Rena sitting on the hallway floor outside my apartment. She looked exhausted, shaken, and terrified. When she saw me, she scrambled to her feet. We need to talk, she said. No, I said. You need to talk. I'll listen. She started crying. Real tears. Messy ones. Not the strategic, soft kind she used when she wanted sympathy. These were desperate tears. She told me everything in broken pieces. She said Kellen was someone she met through mutual friends. It started with flirting. Then they met up. Then things escalated. She said she wanted excitement, and she felt trapped, and she didn't know how to communicate. She told me she cared about me, but wanted something thrilling too. She tried to explain a year of lies like it was a minor detour. Then she told me the part that made everything worse. She didn't know Monica was coming home early. They had planned to meet again the next morning. Rena said she had been using that house as a hideaway because it felt like a secret world where she didn't have responsibilities. She said the rush made her feel alive. Her words didn't sting the way she probably hoped they would. They just clarified the truth even more. She hadn't been unhappy. She hadn't been lost. She had been entertained. I told her I wasn't going to help her with the charges. I told her I wasn't going to protect her reputation. I told her I wasn't going to pretend this was reparable. She begged. She went from blaming me to apologizing to bargaining. She said she would go to therapy. She said she would cut off every man involved. She said she would move out of her parents' house again and stay with me if that helped. Nothing changed my response. When she realized I wasn't bending, her expression hardened into anger. She said I was ruining her life over a mistake. She said I was letting Monica twist the story. She said I should be defending her. I opened my door. She tried to step inside. I blocked her with my arm. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Then she walked away, shaking, muttering to herself. I closed the door behind her, locked it, stood in the silence. The next 48 hours moved fast. Faster than I expected. Faster than I was ready for. But at least everything made sense now. There was no confusion left. No maybe. No, could it be misunderstood? It was all laid out clearly, like a crime scene with numbered markers. The first hit came early the next morning. A call from the police station. They had located Kellen. Not through detective work or some dramatic chase. He got pulled over for a broken taillight, and when they ran his name, the system flagged the report Monica had filed. They asked him to come in. He panicked. He tried to play dumb. It didn't work. And according to the officer who called me, he cracked almost immediately. He blamed everything on Rena. He said she convinced him to copy the key. He said she was the one who suggested using the house while the owner traveled. He said he never would have done it alone. He said he thought she had permission. Every sentence he said pointed in one direction. Himself as the victim, her as the mastermind. I almost felt bad for how predictable it was. Almost. The second hit wasn't from the police. It came 3 hours later, when I got a call from an unknown number. It was Monica. Her tone was noticeably colder than when we last spoke, but still controlled. She told me that more footage had uploaded overnight. Some clips were from last year. Some were from this summer. Some showed Rena arriving alone. Some showed her arriving with Kellen. Others showed Rena pacing around Monica's bedroom like she was deciding what she could get away with touching. Then Monica said a sentence that stuck with me more than anything else that week. You need to know the person you plan to marry is not who you thought she was. She wasn't wrong. She also told me she had already changed every lock in her house. She told me she had hired a lawyer. She told me she wouldn't be dropping anything because she wanted a court record proving what they had done. I thanked her for telling me, not because I felt gratitude, but because it was polite. She asked if I needed anything from her, like copies of the footage or dates. I said no. Everything she needed to do was already in motion. After I hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed with my hands clasped and my thoughts running in circles. I kept thinking about the life I almost stepped into. A wedding. A marriage. A future with a person who lived an entirely different life behind my back. It felt surreal. Then came the third hit. A loud knock on my door. Not the soft, hesitant kind Rena used. This one was sharp, impatient, demanding. I opened the door and found Rena's parents standing there. Her mother looked furious. Her father looked disappointed, the heavy kind, the kind that feels like a slow exhale. They didn't wait to be invited inside. They walked right past me like they owned the hallway. I closed the door and turned toward them. They were already standing in the center of my living room like they were ready to deliver a verdict. Her mother spoke first. How could you do this to her, she said. Not hello. Not we need to talk. Not we heard something happened. Just immediate blame. I didn't react. I didn't argue. I waited for the rest. Her father stepped forward, holding his phone. I want to hear your side before I say anything, he said. That was fair. So I told them. I told them about the house, the security footage, the key copying, the multiple visits. I told them about Kellen. I told them about the police. I told them about her late-night excuses and the timeline stretching back months. Her mother interrupted halfway through. Monica is lying. The kind of denial only a parent deeply invested in their child's perfection could produce. Her father raised a hand to stop her. Let him finish. When I finished, I offered them something simple. I have the footage on my phone. Monica sent it to me. Her mother's face tightened like she wanted to scream. Her father hesitated, swallowed hard, then said, Show us. I pressed play. The first clip showed Rena laughing as she walked into the house with a bottle of wine and a bag. Another clip showed her lying on the same couch I found her on yesterday, but this time with a different outfit. Another showed her holding her phone up, recording something out of frame, clearly comfortable in a house that wasn't hers. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her father didn't react at all. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe loudly. He just stared. After the last clip played, I put my phone down. Silence stretched for almost a full minute. Then her mother regained enough anger to speak. This doesn't prove anything. Her father finally spoke, and his voice was different. Heavy. It proves enough. He turned to me. Thank you for showing us, he said. We'll handle the rest. They walked to the door. Her mother gave me a hateful look, like I had personally orchestrated all of this. Then they left. I sat on my couch for several minutes, listening to the echo of the door closing, realizing that even her parents couldn't salvage the version of her I used to believe in. But the day wasn't done. Around 5 in the evening, I got a text from Tyrese. Turn on the TV. I thought he meant the news. He didn't. He meant social media. A coworker of Rena's had posted a vague message. Some people at work are not who they pretend to be. Then someone else commented with, Is this about who got suspended today? And a third, I heard it involves police. I didn't comment. I didn't scroll. I didn't want to participate in the avalanche. But I knew Rena's phone must have been blowing up. Word always spreads faster when the story includes betrayal and a crime. And then came the final hit of the day. Rena herself. Not in person. Not by call. She sent me a long message. A different kind of message. Not excuses. Not bargaining. Not begging. Just panic. She said she had been suspended from her job pending an internal investigation. She said Kellen had already thrown her under the bus. She said Monica's lawyer had contacted her family. She said she might get charged. She said she was scared. Then she said the part that showed how little she understood anymore. Please talk to my parents for me. They won't listen. As if I had any responsibility left in her life. As if I owed her more time, energy, or reputation. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my email and sent my landlord a formal request to remove her from the lease. We had been planning to merge our places in a few months. Now I wanted a clean line separating everything. That night, I slept better than I expected. Not peacefully, but steadily. Like my brain had finally stopped spinning because the truth was fully exposed. The next morning brought the actual closure. The police emailed me confirming my statement had been attached to the case file. I wasn't needed further, unless something unexpected came up. Monica messaged me once more, briefly, saying they were both officially charged with unlawful entry. Thank you for cooperating. I sent her a polite thank you back. Nothing more. That afternoon, Tyrese and May came over. We sat on my couch eating pizza, talking about anything except the past week. It felt like the first normal moment in days. On their way out, May paused at the door. You know, she said, you didn't lose anything. You avoided something terrible. She wasn't wrong. After they left, I looked around my apartment. Looked at the clean space. Looked at my own reflection in the TV screen. Looked at a life that had been cracked open but not ruined. And I realized something simple. Walking into that house with food in my hand didn't break my life. It saved it. Rena's world fell apart. Kellen's world fell apart. Monica reclaimed hers. The police did their job. Her parents finally saw the truth. And I stepped back from a future built on lies. That was the real ending.